Hi, I'm Paul Bradford, and welcome to Live from the Launchpad, our inaugural interview with Clarke Bader, class of 17. Clarke, welcome.
How you doing?
Well, great to have you here. And for those of our audience who don't know what this is, it's just a simple conversation between our office, the Office of Career Development Calling, and local employers as well as alums who've launched and have landed and want to share their story. So Clarke, thanks for coming to that, and thank you for being the first one ever.
Yeah.
So that's great. We just
Feels good.
We were kind of cracking up because we just started setting up here, and the grounds crew came by with a leaf blower and couldn't. So those
Perfect
are the
timing, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So Clarke, your Facebook profile says studied baseball at Westmont College. Tell me about that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I meant to put that on there. I have to go back and maybe revise that. Maybe say, studied business or something a little more professional sounding.
Would your friends say that was accurate, that you studied
That probably
baseball?
was pretty, just judging by the hours that I put in there, yeah,
Awesome.
That seems pretty accurate.
Well, what drew you to the sport of baseball, and what were some of your earliest memories?
Well, earliest memory was definitely when I was probably 7 or 8. And my mom picks me up from school and tells me she's taking me to baseball practice. And I basically cried the whole way there, not wanting to go. I think I wanted to stay home and play video games or something. But when I got there after practice, I fell in love with it and just kind of kept playing from there. And I kind of loved it ever since. So.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny. We both kind of share a love for the sport. And I always felt that baseball, just about more than any other sport, magnifies failure, because it's not like you can go back to the huddle or that
Right.
play doesn't kind of resume. Play stops, and if you drop the ball in left field, you're all alone. It magnifies that.
Yeah.
What has the game taught you about life, success, failures, teamwork, you name it?
It's all those things. It's taught me a lot. I think the biggest thing I'm working in sales now, and I think the biggest thing when my interview that I was talking about was, baseball, sales, you're going to fail a lot. Baseball, you're going to fail a lot. And I think I learned how to kind of deal with failure through that to help me prepare for, a role in the working world. And just kind of understanding that, especially in baseball, you fail 7 out of 10 times, like they say, you're a Hall of Famer. And so you kind of have to learn, you just have to take those failures, you have to learn from it. I think the most important thing is just every failure you kind of have to learn about, a new way, a new experience, and see how to get better the next time.
Yep. Well, and that's true. Failure shapes us, and sometimes the opposite happens, and you're in the zone, and things just flow, and they're cruising, and it's easy. Other times, not so much, like when you have the failure moments.
Right.
How do you deal with those other times, those not so much times when it's hard? And
Yeah.
things are not flowing the way you would when you can see in the baseball areas when you're on the plate and you can see the ball like it's going 10 miles an hour and you
Right.
just hit the cover off it. Mm-hmm. What about the opposite?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you kind of have to just break it all down and go back to just the most bare bone kind of mentality. This last year in the spring, I went through you can ask Coach Ruiz. I went through quite a long dry spell in terms of hitting, and I went into his office, Coach's office, and kind of talked to him. I was just like, I just something needs to change, and I just wanted to get his opinion on it. And he's like, just go out, take batting practice, and try to hit every ball over the fence, and just kind of completely loosen up, go back to, kind of the bare bones, mentality of just hitting the baseball, kind of why you started playing baseball, even not, getting caught up in all the fine details. And it's, I think that's really applicable to anything in life, really, you just kind of, you can't get too bogged down in all the specifics and really just overwork yourself mentally. And it definitely helped me. The next weekend, I had a really good, weekend series, and kind of went off from there. So
I've been in sales for a while myself, and I know there's sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you're doing all the right things, and it just isn't happening. And,
right.
For me, it's been the idea of showing up and keep swinging, and that's sort of the same metaphor. I think it's applicable to the workplace that you talked about.
Yeah, totally. You just have to understand that your process is right, even if you're not getting the results. And going back to baseball and relating to baseball, you could have a great at bat and you can hit a ball hard and it's right at a guy, and you're like, well, everything I did was right, but I just didn't get the result. And so that's something a lot of people miss, is they, they're result focused rather than process focused. And I think that's something that Coach Ruiz really taught over here every day. Just preached it. Just worry about the process rather than the result. And I think
and what have you learned about yourself from those experiences in baseball, and how do you think they'll translate into the working world?
I mean, I think definitely the whole idea of learning to deal with failure is the biggest one. But I think another thing is just kind of coexisting with other people in a team who all kind of share the same goal. And, going out there with the baseball team, you're there, you all are trying to achieve the same thing, but you all are different in a different way, in your own way. And I think that definitely applies, in the workplace. You're working with a lot of other people who are competitive, and they all want to move up, and you want to move up, but you're all working together kind of in a weird coexisting fashion. But I think that definitely, it's definitely helped me with that, just, coexisting with your coworkers who are all, competing with you as well, but, you're all friends at the same time. And, I think just that whole atmosphere and culture of everything is something big that baseball taught me for sure, and how important that is.
It's funny thinking about it. I imagine you're in your sales role, you're probably on a floor with 5, 10, 15 others, peers that are doing the same thing that you're doing. And so are you observing them as they have successes, and is that something, and vice versa? How does that work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because you hear them, a lot of the time is spent on the phone. And so you hear them and kind of have it, you don't hear the other side of the conversation, you'll hear their conversation, what they're saying. You maybe can hear when it takes the wrong turn or maybe takes the right turn, in terms of being successful. And you kind of pick up from what they're doing, but you also, kind of tailor stuff to yourself in order to see kind of how you can achieve your best success.
Sure.
Just because everyone's different in that way.
Awesome. Another pivot question. Tell me about the kind of jobs you had growing up.
Well, okay, so my first job, I was probably 13, and I worked at the batting cage down the road from my house, and I actually worked there not this last summer, but every summer before that, and throughout kind of the years I would just work there and just kind of help run things when the owner couldn't. I'd run baseball camps over there. And then I worked for actually the competitive baseball league up in Seattle. It was like ages, anywhere from 13 to 18. There's a couple hundred teams in the league total, and I was, kind of the assistant director there, just helping run the league, organize tournaments, just, kind of helping where help needed to be. Sometimes I'd be delivering baseballs to the field, so it was a varied position, a lot of different things that you had to do.
Wore a lot of hats.
Exactly, but it was fun because it just taught me a lot, and just, you put a lot of work in, and but it was a good job to have just to kind of see what kind of stuck with me.
Awesome. Outside of baseball, tell me about any internships that you had while you were in college.
One of the internships I did, and it was my first semester at Westmont. I interned down at the Young Americas Foundation down at the Reagan Center in downtown Santa Barbara. And I just, kind of helped out with sort of day-to-day operations, just doing different things, getting on the phone, calling, donors, or, kind of helping organize events, or just, doing, jobs around the office. It was just something I wanted to really get involved in, and I wanted it for experience.
Well, tell me about what you do at DocuSign, and what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm on the sales team at DocuSign. On our floor, I'm a sales development representative, and so on our floor there's quite a few of us, and they've expanded that role a ton. So we get in, I'll probably get in around 7 in the morning. I'll have leads of prospects, people who've opened accounts with DocuSign who are looking to maybe do it for their business. And so, I'll get in at 7, kind of look over those leads, see who I may want to reach out to. 8 o'clock rolls around, I'll call some people, and then there's other call blocks throughout the day that we'll be making calls, and people, obviously around their phones, and it's very entry level, but it has a lot of room to move up in the company. A lot of people who become account executives there start as SD or sales development representatives. But yeah, it's most of the day is spent on the phone, but then there's that time outside of being on the phone that you're really focusing on in terms of putting in your work outside of this, so we can kind of take care of that time on the phone. Yeah.
Well, so how did you come to land this job, and what was the process you went through to get it? It
was kind of interesting, and I think I kind of maybe got lucky. I don't know. I don't want to say that, but I got back home, or actually the day of graduation. A friend of mine, our families reached out to me and said, congrats graduating. He's like, what are you looking to do? I kind of mentioned, maybe get into sales or into marketing or something of that nature. And he said, well, send me your resume. I can send it out to some people. And so I sent it to him. His girlfriend actually works over at DocuSign in HR, and so she knew me and kind of referred me there. I went through kind of this interesting interview process.
Wow.
It was kind of long and stressful, but it was good, and so I ended up getting the job. But and really, that was the only place I applied. And so I got pretty lucky in that sense. But
well, here's the thing about the luck part, and this is what a lot of when I heard you say I got lucky, I said no, you used
Right.
your relationships. That's 80% of jobs never hit the job boards, and it's always the hey, I got a friend's son's cousin's second
Right,
sister
yeah.
thing, and that's how those things work. And you took advantage of that, and you took that first step of sending your resume out to that person who sent it to somebody else, and that's how things work.
Yeah, and it was, originally I felt a little overwhelmed, and I think a lot, especially being at, currently, when I was a student at Westmont, I was like, especially that spring semester, I was like, what am I going to do? I feel like, I feel like I'm prepared, and all my professors and teachers have prepared me, but I don't have the confidence to like go out there and just kind of the go-getter mentality that, I feel like I'm going to be overwhelmed. It's the working world. It's all, big and scary. But after I applied and I got the job and did the interview and all that, as soon as I started working there, the first day was a little overwhelming. It was a lot of information. But, after week one, I felt really comfortable with it, and it was totally like in my own head. And I think like looking back on myself, when I was at school, like I said in the spring, I was like, what was I thinking? What was I worried about? Because it really, everything worked out well, and I feel completely comfortable like in my role now.
Telling me is that you took the first step, and it wasn't as scary or as daunting. You realized, okay.
Yeah, it was completely manageable, and obviously there are going to be ups and downs in the job, and that's just the nature of working or doing anything in life. But taking that first step initially, I was like, I just got to step out of my comfort zone. Like I said, the interview process was kind of weird and interesting, and I was really overwhelmed by that, and I was like nervous about it, and I didn't even want to do it. I was like, I almost wanted to tell myself like, don't even interview there. This is too much. Wow. But then I did it. It wasn't bad, and turns out obviously got the job and everything. I was like, man, I'm glad I took that first step.
So now we're going to pivot to the knowing what you know now thing. So if you were talking to first year Clarke or sophomore, junior Clarke about life and landing a job after Westmont, what would you say to him?
I would definitely say, calm down, first of all, because, when I was younger, earlier in college, I felt so overwhelmed about where I was going to end up or where I was going to be when I was a senior. But, I think everything has a funny way of just working itself out. And, in the end, and, there's going to be ups and downs. There were ups and downs in my college career, moving schools and everything. And I'm not saying, my first school was a bad experience or anything, but, there are just going to be different things that happen in your life. But just understanding that, you'll be where you are at the end and you'll be happy with it, most likely, it's, I definitely would have told myself to, calm down, everything's going to work out and just be fine. So.
Well, great. Clarke Bader, class of 17.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for being the first inaugural interviewing on Live from the Launchpad.
Yeah, glad to be there.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.